It's Bev.
And it's Marq.
And we are
The Redmonds.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Meet The Redmonds. And guess what?
Meet the Redmonds is our podcast journey about marriage, second chances, and unyielding love. In season 2, my husband Marq and I share laughs, lessons, and life with some great friends that we meet along the way. We promise to keep the conversation relevant, churchy, and old school. It's a mix we call the Redmond Way. Meet the Redmonds streams every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. across all time zones on Facebook, YouTube, and OCPITV.com. We'll meet up with you.
Hey everybody, it's Bev.
And it's Marq.
And we are
The Redmonds.
Welcome to another episode, an exciting episode because it is Super Bowl Sunday of Meet the Redmonds. And babe, what are we talking?
We're talking about faith and sports.
Now, do you want to justify the shirts that we're wearing?
I guess we can justify the shirts. We are in our Seattle home, so we're representing the Seahawks, which had a decent season. They didn't make the playoffs. But when we're up here, we're going to represent
Seattle
to a certain extent. And when we're back home,
we're rocking
Chicago. Right. So
yes, that's always where we are in terms of both of our homes. We try to represent equally. But when we think about faith and sports, for me, it always seemed like there was a connection in my life to faith and sports. I started playing sports in middle school and high school. So I was introduced to basketball first, this thing called volleyball next, and then track. But all of it was a feeder to be able to be ready to play basketball. But I did it with the help of my dad, who was my pastor at the time, and sometimes my coach. So all of it came together. What about for you?
Well, started with Little League. We played in a association called AFCA, which stood for Athletes for Christ Association. So baseball, we would dedicate our uniforms and dedicate the season at church. And then we would, pray before games, pray after games. Then later we ran a summer league, and we would pray before and after games. I was kind of like the commissioner.
You were?
Yeah.
The commish?
Right.
And what did you do? You organized?
Organized. The first year was fantastic. We only had 5 teams. It was great. And then we expanded to 8 teams. It was greater.
You remember your name? What was your name?
Oh, my team? The Big Red Machine.
Gospel great.
Did the last couple of seasons, I had the dumb idea to expand it to 12 teams, and it was just chaotic. I'd never do that again. But it was a great time. We had people for our championship games. We had people standing outside looking through the window, and we had some top-notch players, a couple of cats that went overseas and played. So it was just a good experience. But hopefully the young men had an experience where, hey, they can come in. It's a safe haven. You can be safe, and you play here. We had people from different neighborhoods that maybe didn't jive together.
Yes.
But they came together and they played ball. And I think it was a good experience.
I know a lot of the values that we hold today come from sports, come from our faith, and the mixture of that. I would say we learned endurance, perseverance. We learned the value of being humble in the win, and also being, what do we do? Not sacking when we lost, because that was a reality sometimes too. So we learned all of those good lessons growing up.
Yep.
So you looked up sports and faith.
Sports and faith. Well,
Where do we start?
The origin of faith and sports, you really got to go back to like ancient times.
Yeah.
Roman gladiators.
That's your jam. Roman, Greek,
Right.
world, yes.
And if you remember the movie Gladiator, there was a scene where before they started fighting, they turned to the emperor and said, "For those who are about to die, we salute you." And that's kind of paying homage to the emperors and kings, and they even did that when, in medieval times when they were jousting, they would recognize the king and say something to him and
Reverential.
right.
Okay.
And before they started. So that's really the basis of it. Now, as we got into organized sports and we didn't have a king or anything to worry about, men would gather together and pray before the game. And I think in the NFL, it really became prevalent. And they do it in other sports, but not quite like the NFL. And right around the late 80s, early 90s, you started to see players gather after games at midfield and pray, So that's really the origin of it.
Yep. So when you think about our history as Black people, African Americans, a lot of the struggles that we came through, faith is what got us through, because even in sports, we didn't come always from the best programs. We didn't come always with the best equipment, but we gave it our all, we gave it our heart, and we prayed our way through to many of the accomplishments that you see us doing today. I told you in the car the story of one of my friends who's gone on to be, he's in heaven now, George Taliaferro. He is from Gary, Indiana, but he was the first Black person to be drafted into the NFL and the first Black athlete to be drafted by the Bears.
Oh, wow. He was the first athlete to be drafted?
The first.
In the entire NFL?
In the entire NFL.
Wow.
Yep.
That's history.
Yep. So I was Smitty to him. Love
How did you know him?
George. My parents, my family knew the Taliaferros growing up in Gary, Indiana. And then I moved to Bloomington, Indiana during a time when he and his wife, Judge Viola Taliaferro, were in the same city. So we often ran into each other, and he was like, Smitty. And he just knew me because of my parents.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I think, nowadays you have, and why do you think it's just so prevalent with football and not the other sports?
I don't know. I think it is probably prevalent in other places. I did a little bit of looking and to see other athletes who might be professing Christ. Allison Felix, so that's track and field. Back to your point about football, Russell Wilson. A lot of other athletes across all sports.
And even before that, you had Reggie White, who was an ordained minister. You had Mike Singletary. So you had several
Football
players,
greats.
right, that confess their belief in Christ. But why do you think it's so prevalent in football and not other sports? You don't see basketball players huddling up like that, or baseball players.
Not really. Did you know Manny Pacquiao was a Christian?
No, I didn't.
So boxing. So all of those individuals, I'm going to just say my armchair diagnosis. Football is vicious. If you don't need Jesus, you should.
Right.
That is not scientific by any stretch.
You finish playing the game, you're going to need prayer.
Yeah, you need a lot if you made it through the game. We take it for granted. But not too long ago, there was an incident. Was it last year? Year before?
It may have been last year. Right.
Where a young man had a heart attack on the field. And in the moment, like, what do we do? What do we do? And people started praying.
We saw that. We were watching that game. It was between the Buffalo Bills and I want to say the Cincinnati Bengals. And what was the player's name?
Hamlin. Is the last name. Damar?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Right.
So we'll check it out and make sure that we reference appropriately. And I think we're going to drop in a clip or two so that you can see those moments. There was another moment that is a favorite of mine. The NFL again. I also believe maybe it was a Chicago athlete from the Bears, was on a BET Super Bowl celebration special. And he told a story about losing his wife.
Wow.
And how faith brought him through. And the unique thing is they weren't married a long time. He was married 30 days and lost his wife. And how he has rebounded and able to tell that testimony and story and talk about the Brady effect, as long as you still have time on the clock, you still have the ability, you still have hope. You can transition and turn that into something good.
Okay, so we're going to watch these 2 clips of Hamlin.
Damar, yep.
And your clip with the...
From the BET Super Bowl celebration, I want to say it's about circa 2018. Yep.
Okay, so check these out and we will be right back.
He got up, took a couple of steps, and then just fell to the ground. We don't know, of course, the extent of his injuries, but the entire Bills team is out on the field right now. Several players are down on their knees. Other players are holding hands, praying. You can just see the worried looks on their faces. As soon as we have more, Joe, we'll pass it on up to you guys in the booth.
First, I would like to just thank God for even being here. Every day, I am amazed that my experiences could encourage so many others across the country and even across the world. Encourage to pray, encourage to spread love, and encourage to keep fighting no matter the circumstances. Sudden cardiac arrest was nothing I would have ever chosen to be a part of my story. But that's because sometimes our own visions are too small, even when we think we are seeing the bigger picture. My vision was about playing in the NFL and being the best player that I could be. But God's plan was to have a purpose greater than any game in this world. My entire life, I felt like God was using me to give others hope. And now with a new set of circumstances, I can only say he's doing what he's always done. I have a long journey ahead, a journey full of unknowns and a journey full of milestones. But it's a lot easier to face your fears when you know your purpose.
Welcome 3-time Pro Bowler and Chicago Bears legend, Tommie Harris.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me out here in Minnesota. It is pretty chilly out there. I don't have long to be up here. My father would say I have enough time to make a sandwich. I wish I could speak a meal, but they only gave me so many seconds. But I just want to take advantage of this moment. About 5 years ago, I lost my wife to a brain aneurysm. And I remember sitting in the same auditorium just like you were. We were in Indianapolis, and me and her were sitting here, and I was watching a man come up there also and talk about how he lost his wife. And as I was sitting there in the audience, I was only married for 30 days at that moment. And I didn't know 11 days later I would lose my wife. So my job, we won't all, because I realized that death is a thing that happens in life. It's not a thing that happens to life. So my job is to go and tell everyone that is living to make life count. Make it count. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. And as you breathe today, when was the last time you took a big, deep breath? As I pulled my wife's monitor off and she took her last one, right now, take a deep one. Let it out. As long as you have that in your body, you got the Brady effect. That at any moment, I got time on the clock. I can come back at any moment. I know things happen in my life, but I can make a change at any moment. So I came here today to tell you, to encourage all of you that's going through a difficult time, that trouble don't last always. That I've never seen a cloud sit over one person's house for a long time. This too shall pass. It has to. So my job today to tell you all while you're here to endure this thing. We've been made to endure the night, but our joy will come in the morning. Thank you, guys.
We are back. I hope that you were able to glean something from those 2 clips. They were very powerful, especially the last one. You know, just to hear his testimony about how he is able to rebound after losing his wife. At 30 days, wow.
That is something I can't even imagine. I mean, we talk about how we're positioned for the rest of our lives and what we should be doing to prepare for our senior years. And we are 8 years into marriage. After 30 days,
I don't know. I can't even I can't wrap my mind around it now.
No.
8 years, but 30 days?
I was head over heels 30 days.
She's still head over heels,
Big
people.
fella.
I'm still the big fella.
He is that big dog.
Okay. Wow. We have another clip.
Yep.
And this clip is basically talking about the origins of the huddle and prayer. And it's from a gentleman, I think he played for the 49ers. So he's talking about his experience about being a Christian and playing in the NFL. So we're going to watch this, then we're going to come back, and then we got some more stuff to talk about. Faith and sports. We'll be right back.
Night. It was a savage, brutal game. You guys won 7-3, so a lot of defense, a lot of hard hitting. And then it's time for the first prayer circle. Kumbaya and all that. What happened at that moment?
Well, we decided that we were going to continue to do what we said that we were going to do. I mean, we didn't think that, it was hurting anybody or going to start any kind of movement or anything like that. It was just something that we thought would be good to do, regardless of what the outcome of the game, whether we lost or whether we won. It was just a good thing to do, and we wanted to do it with the other players on the other team. So we went to the we're supposed to meet at the 50-yard line, but there was some scuffling going on. And
Ronnie Lott and Phil Simms, right?
Well, it was a meeting of the minds, and they just had to get some things off their chest. And I think after all, they got it out in the open. It kind of calmed down. So we just moved a little bit closer to the end zone and knelt down and joined hands and began to pray.
When you watch a game today and you see what this has become, what do you flash back to about what you guys did 25 years ago?
Well, I really never really thought about it until, I was meeting with Pat Ritchie the other day, and he said that, we were the first people to start doing that. And I said, wow, that's great to be part of something that has come a tradition now, and not just on the professional level, but on the collegiate level and on the high school level, where guys can come together who have the same faith in common or whatever, and just come down and have a moment of prayer for just coming through a brutal contest and pray for those that have gotten hurt, maybe, and then to have a safe trip back home.
We are back. It's Marq and Bev. Meet the Redmonds. We're talking about faith and sports. Hopefully you enjoyed that clip, the history of the huddle, and how prayer came into football. So hopefully you love that. In terms of faith and football and sports, but particularly football, one of your favorite people, Deion Sanders, he's become a favorite of yours of late. He also professes, and you talked about why isn't it popular in other sports. He was blessed to play across two sports.
Well, I guess and whatever you think of Deion, that is your opinion. I like Deion, one, for his testimony of being an amputee, and two, just his hard work and drive to be great, not good, but great in two sports. So
now in coaching.
Right, now in coaching. So he has professed his faith, We're not here to judge anybody's faith and how strong it is.
No, or the right and wrongs. We all, if we live long enough, we're going to make a mistake. We are going to be judged by someone and say, oh, you could live your life differently or better for Christ. We're not here to do that. His profession is his profession.
Right. Now, let's get to the game, which we're not going to miss because we taped this earlier, so we're probably watching the game, eating some wings or whatever. But we got the 49ers and the Chiefs. Who are you rooting for?
I am super neutral this time. My heart broke for my Lions from the Midwest. I was hopeful. I knew it was a long shot, but but I was hopeful that they might make it on in, and
They blew that game. They blew that game. I don't care what anybody says. You're up or you tie the game, you kick the field goal. Forget analytics, forget numbers. You're up, you kick the field goal. You know, all of that nice, cute, zany stuff that you do in the season, that's fine.
Zany?
Yeah. Going for it on 4th down. Hey, it's 4th and 7. Let's go for it. Yeah.
For the sure thing.
And you kick that field goal, tie the game, and you keep it moving.
Okay.
Right.
So they blew it.
They blew it.
Feel that way when Atlanta lost.
Oh, against the Patriots?
Yes. Our friend Phil. Love you, Phil.
Love you,
wherever you are.
Phil Prince. We were watching the game. This was a couple of years ago. What, about 3-4 years ago?
Oh my gosh, it's been a minute.
So we're watching the Falcons, and
they're starting off great,
killing the Patriots. So Patriots come back, and everybody was so dejected because, one, they were representing Atlanta. So
yes.
Atlanta is one of the, I'm going to say this, Atlanta is one of the blackest places on the planet. So when you think of Atlanta, you think of blackness. When you think of New England, you
not
think
so
of
much.
Not so much.
Yeah.
So Phil says, man, black people can't win for nothing.
We just couldn't get ahead.
We cracked up.
And that's the way I felt about the Detroit Lions. I'm like, oh. But if there was a Cinderella story out of the season, Detroit, we feel you.
Right.
We love you.
How you feel about this Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift relationship? Do you think it takes away from the game?
I have no evaluation on whether it's of God or not. Look, I'm not a Swiftie. That's what they call the Taylor Swift fans. I don't want to speak too much about them. They'll be on our social media.
They'll be coming for us.
I like Travis. I like the Kelce brothers. So if he's cool and happy, all for it. I do think it brings a different kind of attention to football.
Right. Okay, good.
Now I have a question for you. Faith and sports. Should you pray to win?
You said that. You asked me that before.
Yeah.
Should you pray to win?
Like, I know right now, someone is praying for the Chiefs. Somebody's praying. My sister Angela is praying for the 49ers.
Do you think that's vanity?
I don't know.
You're playing for a
personal gain?
Right. I think it's kind of vain to pray to win. I don't know. That's a good question. What do you guys think? Do you think you can pray to win when you're...
Is God for one team over another? One player over another?
Well, there is a verse in the Bible, and we'll put it up. I don't know exactly what it is, but it says something about... I want to say it's in Romans. I'm not sure. Whatever it is, we'll have it. But it's, whatever you do it to the glory...
As unto the Lord. Yeah.
Right. So if you're doing that and you're playing sports, and God can get some edification out of it, I think it's okay. But I don't know. That's a hard one. Do you pray to win?
So whether you're praying to win or not, here's what I think. Gospel according to Beth. I think that the prayer is for me to perform at my best. Whether it's on the football field, the basketball court, whether it's in my office, I know that if I am playing, performing at my best, I have a really good shot at the win. I would love to win, but I would really prefer. I always want to know that I did my absolute best.
Okay. So you think that athletes can pray to God to get them a victory?
I believe you should pray to do your best. Do your absolute best. I also think you get to make your request. That's a scripture.
Yeah.
Make your request known unto God.
We'll put that up for you.
Yes. And I learned this very, very early on playing. The days when we won, it was beautiful. The days when we lost, that's some stuff that's hard to get over because you put everything into it. And my mom always says, baby, somebody's always going to win. Somebody's always going to be on the lesson of the loss too. So you've got to learn how to balance them out. But in loss, does that mean God is not with you?
That is very profound. You just got deep.
I'm good. No, you're always going to have one or the other in your life. So what happens if you happen to be on the losing end? At the end of the Super Bowl, someone is going home in the 2 spot, and they were prepared to be one. They practiced hard. They played hard. Somebody will make more yardage. Somebody will make a great play. Somebody will make a pitiful one. And we will have plenty to say about it. But it's hard to go home if you are the number 2.
Right.
So what do when that loss happens in your life? There are scriptures that, of course, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. We all love that one because that means we all can do things. But there are also scriptures that say, that God works everything out for the good. So even if it looks like it is a loss, God knows how to shape that experience and turn it around. You don't know how many times that maybe you or I walked away and it wasn't a clean win, but somebody saw how you kept your character. Somebody saw what you said or heard what you said, and they came back to you and said, hey, I've got an offer, or I heard your story. I want to put you on for this or that. So many times, we've been in book signings, and maybe there were a couple of people there, but we had to treat it like we're selling out the place. And so until you get to those places, and sometimes even when you think you have arrived, you get a low that comes in there. So there's another scripture that says God always causes us to triumph. So even in those spaces where you don't think you have or performed your best, or you come away with the L, God is still good. God can turn those situations into something you can use.
Wow, that was deep. Deep. Preparing for the game.
I think I have a recipe from a friend at work for a white bean chili.
You gonna make that?
I want to try. Yes.
Oh boy. Should I pray before I eat the chili?
And I'll get you some Tums.
I can do all things, but eat this white bean chili.
It's gonna be delicious.
Are we gonna have some wings or something?
We can have wings. I would like some ribs.
Okay. Well, you're in charge of that.
I want to see relationship. You want football.
I want football. Play the game.
So when they flash the camera on Taylor,
I just shake my head. Oh, this takes away from the game.
Oh, you're a purist.
Yes. So we're gonna get ready and get out of here.
Did we give them enough show today?
I think we did.
Okay.
All right. So it's not my way. Wrong again.
No.
Okay, you start.
Deacon Redmond needs a nap.
Yeah.
All right. It's the end of the day. It's not my husband's way.
It's not my wife's way.
It is
The Redmond way.
Enjoy the Super Bowl, y'all.
Peace.
Love and soul.